here we go with our brackets. Right now, using snoozes, playoff maps, and um, brackets to give us just a good breakdown. And going on snooze2u.com lets us click on teams, see what their records are, some of their notable games, and even gives historical data. Really good resource if you were filling out these brackets yourself.
Yeah, just copy mine, have a perfect bracket, and we'll all be super happy.
We'll see. All right, well, let's get right into this one, starting with Region 1, District 1. Matchups here are Hudsonville taking on Jenison and Rockford taking on Granville.
Yeah, I mean, Hudsonville blew out Jenison in the first game. I think it was like 42-0 or something like that. So, um, kind of a wash there. And then Rockford was able to actually get by this team, but the last couple weeks, it seems like maybe Granville has started to find something, um, but I just can't do it. So I am going to fill in Rockford here.
Yep, I'm with you, taking Hudsonville and Rockford there as well.
Yeah, next district we've got Howell versus Kalamazoo Central and East Kentwood Grand Ledge. I still think Howell, they move on. I think they're just too physical. Um, I like Kalamazoo Central. Good job by them to have a pretty good season. Went 6-3, pretty impressive. But I like them a lot. And East Kentwood Grand Ledge, I think there could be some points there. But Grand Ledge kind of got exposed as a pretender a little bit after the DeWitt game. So yeah, I like East Kentwood. I like their offense. I think Kate Kaufman will elevate his game, and I think he keeps them rolling.
I am with you there. Hate to be too chalky here, but Howell, 1 seed for a reason. They're really solid, fun offense, and very well coached. I just don't see a way that Kalamazoo Central can keep up with them. And on the other side, like you said, Grand Ledge, that loss to DeWitt is ugly. Not what you want to see, especially last 3 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And then East Kentwood, on the other hand, they've got 2 losses this year to Rockford, 14-21 one-score game, and then Hudsonville in 42-43 1-point loss there. These are 2 elite teams that they lost to. East Kentwood, as good a team as any that you're going to find in this bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Next region, we've got Detroit Catholic Central in Heartland, and then West Bloomfield and Brighton in this district. Feels like DCC is kind of the obvious answer here. But how do you feel about West Bloomfield Brighton?
This one is a little bit more difficult for me. I'm pretty high on this West Bloomfield team, or at least I was, and then they dropped 2 straight to Oxford and Clarkston. Oxford, not a terrible loss, but losing to Clarkston, well, Clarkston's one of the best teams in the state, 10-38, not quite what you want to see. They did bounce back well against Bloomfield Hills and also played against that tough Roseville team. But on the other side, Brighton, they're coming in on 2 straight losses, as we had discussed, Howell and Dearborn Fordson. If you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said that this Brighton team is winning, no problem. It's in the bag, and they'll give Detroit Catholic Central all they can handle. Now I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I like both of these teams. Obviously, they both play in tough conferences, both really battle tested. I am gonna flip it on its head here, and we're gonna go with Brighton.
I'm actually with you there. This Brighton team, they were one of my darlings in the preseason as I went through and was just starting to work on my matrix as well as some talent evaluations for some of these higher level teams. This Brighton squad, as talented as they come, their offense and defense, both solid, a very balanced team. In this one, I have to take Brighton just because I think that the squad that was dominating up through week 7 is still in there somewhere.
Yeah, No, I agree. Next up, we got the Joe Boyster district. These are four teams with quarterbacks that train under Joe Boyster. Alex Washenko with Clarkston, Jackson Dosh at Davison, and then Jake Morrow at Grand Blanc and Jack Hendricks at Oxford. Um, this is the you know district of death, I think, in D1. I mean,
Hmm.
pretty much every division kind of has one. I think this is the one. I think Grand Blanc, I think they're just way too strong. So I'm going to kind of just pencil them in on this one. But Clarkson Davison, I'm having a little more of a tough time with.
I am pretty high on this Grand Blanc team, but I think that they started to show some cracks against Romeo. Oxford, team that, they had a couple of struggles early, but they've just been very consistent, playing some close games, but they find a way to win. I am going to take Grand Blanc here, but I don't think it's as close as you do. On the other side, I am terrified of this Clarkston team. They are just dominating these schools. I think that they're going to handle Davison. I like Davison. They're a good squad, but we saw what happened against Grand Blanc. Sometimes they just get outmatched, and once they start to fall behind, they can press a little, and wheels start to fall off. I would not be shocked to see that happen here, and I'm taking Clarkston with ease.
I think I'm going to go with you here, but I don't like it. The only reason that I hesitate a little bit is I think that the biggest weakness with Davison right now is their secondary. And I think Washenko is a great quarterback. But I think that their style of play, they've got the Bowman brothers. They like to keep it on the ground a lot. Um,
Mhm.
so if there's a path to victory for Davison, I think it comes with stopping the run and forcing them to try and beat you, through the air. I still think Clarkson's a really good team through the air as well. But I think that has to be the path of victory if Davison's going to get it done.
Yeah, daring Clarkson to beat you with Washenko is not exactly a fun challenge.
Correct. Agreed.
Region 3, District 1, we've got Saline versus Salem. And on the other side, we got Belleville hosting Brownstown Woodhaven.
Yeah, I'm going chalk here with Celine and Belleville. And I think this is going to be an absolute blast of a rematch from last year's playoffs. Um, Obviously, Celine kind of got Bryce Underwooded. He had himself a game, and that one was just, kind of all world everything for him. If you remember, this was the week that Michigan sent all of their boosters and alum to the game, and kind of was almost a turning point in his recruitment. So, yeah, that was a crazy atmosphere. But I think Celine has improved, and I think Belleville's taken a step back. I think this game's a lot more evenly matched now. Probably even give the slight edge to Celine in this one. So, yeah, I think those are the two that are kind of just going to walk into this one.
This one is our first disagreement. I'm going to
Nice.
take I'm going to take Saline here. I think that Brownstown Woodhaven gets the upset on Belleville. This Belleville
Okay.
squad is good, but if you look back at the kind of quality of competition that they've been playing, they had that really, really tough game against Clarkston, and they had the really tough team in Howell. Besides that, they have not played a lot of top end teams, and you can see a lot of their games are pretty close. Yes, they are 7-2, hard to do in D1, but looking at the other side, Woodhaven, they dropped that game to Taylor. Not good, just
No.
not good. But besides that, they've got some solid wins, especially you really start to see them come together here with the Allen Park win, and then following that up with just blowing out Roosevelt and Dearborn Edsel Ford. Gibraltar Carlson, this was a loss, but this was one that losing to a team of that caliber 23-27, I'm not going to worry too much about it. I think that this is just too high quality of team for Belleville to go out and sleepwalk against. They would have to play their top game bring their A game to this one, and I'm not sure that they're going to be able to find that on demand.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I like it. Next up, we've got Cass Tech versus Northville, and then Farmington versus Fordson. Um, I I like obviously I like Cass Tech in this one. Northville had a solid year, but kind of stumbled to the finish line. It felt like there with that Novi loss in between. Um, I think Cass is just shoe in at least for semifinals right now. Um, and then the other one, I'm actually gonna go Fordson. Um, I think they're really tested in the KLAA. If you remember back, they had that 10 point loss to
Mhm.
Belleville. I think that they're really tested, really talented, really big up front. So yeah, I kind of like the Tractors in this one.
All right. I don't hate the Tractors in this one. That said, looking at Farmington, they have that loss to Clarkston a couple weeks back, but besides that, really just nothing to worry about too much. Loss to Holly isn't ideal, but week two, you're not the same team you were then. On the other
Agreed.
side, looking at Fordson, this is a squad that started off with two pretty ugly losses, but have been winning since then, including that really good win against Brighton last week.
Yeah.
I'm I'm a little torn here, but I do think that Fordson is going to be riding that momentum off the Brighton win, and they're going to match up with Castech in round two.
Yep, I agree.
Next region here, we've got Region 4, District 1. That's Rochester Adams taking on Rochester. And we've also got Rochester Hills Stony Creek taking on Utica Eisenhower.
Yeah, I mean the first thing I see here is a an Adams team that won this 31-3 earlier in the season. I think that they do that again. Stony Creek and Ike is an interesting one. I kept waiting for Ike to really, really break out. They had the weird loss to Dakota 14-7, and it kind of sparked a three losses in a row with a loss to St. Clair Shores Lakeview in there. And then obviously a blowout 42-0 loss to Clarkston. So I don't think they're coming in here very hot, and I think I like the Creek in this one.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. These are two teams here that I'm not necessarily thrilled with. Both teams that, if you look back going into week 6 for Stony Creek, they were coming in looking pretty solid. They had the one loss to Harper Woods, but who hasn't lost to Harper Woods at this point?
Sure.
And uh, they drop two straight. They're good teams in Adams and Groves, but uh, they came back. They're playing pretty well. Other side, Utica Eisenhower. This has been just one of the more disappointing ends to the regular season. Three straight losses, including 42-0 loss, even if it is against Clarkston. Just can't imagine a team is going to be playing with a ton of confidence off of that. I'm taking Stony Creek there. And obviously, Adams, like you said, first time that they played Rochester, they won that one 31-3. And if you look, uh, they also took down Stony Creek when they met up. And uh, frankly, not to get too far ahead of myself here, I foresee Adams just making their way to possibly even the semis without a whole lot of issue.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. They've looked really good so far.
All right, next we have Romeo taking on Sterling Heights Stevenson, Utica taking on Macomb Dakota.
Yeah, this one's tough. I think Romeo is going to be a tough out if they end up meeting Adams. I think that'll be a really good game. I think they beat Stevenson. I just really like what they're doing. The Utica one for me, Utica and Dakota, that one's wild because that one, it was really close, but Utica was able to win that one. Um, they've got a really good defense, so I kind of like that. I think that plays to their strengths. I think that Utica doubles down and gets Dakota again.
I totally agree. Utica, I think that they're going to come in here. They're going to be feeling good. In Dakota, I think that they're a solid squad, but you look, they've got two losses to end the season and really lost three of their last four in the regular season. They're going to be coming in
Yep.
here probably, if I had to guess, just pushing themselves a little too hard and think that's probably going to lead to some mistakes on their end. So I do like Utica. Other side, Romeo, uh, not a whole lot to say here. They beat Sterling Heights Stevenson 45-9 when they played in the regular season. Yes, it's hard to beat the same team twice, but boy, if you beat them in that fashion, you're probably not going to struggle too much the second time either.
I absolutely agree. All right. Now we've got the district finals. Um, for me, I've got Hudsonville versus Rockford and Howell versus East Kentwood. Um, again, I just really love what Hudsonville is doing. Um, obviously, Brady Van Lake just today, or it'll be yesterday when you listen to this, committed to Ferris State, so that's
Yep.
good for him. And he absolutely deserves it. This dude has really carried this team and done a really good job. So I like Hudsonville in that one. Obviously, Hudsonville is able to beat Rockford by 10 earlier in the season. And then Howell East Kentwood, what a clash of styles. Could really go either way. It might even be weather dependent. But I'm going to bet on Howell's physicality just taking a toll. And I think they get by East Kentwood.
Okay. I am going to look. Let's see. Hudsonville. I've got Hudsonville Rockford. This Rockford team lost to Hudsonville 28-35, and I think here I'm going to go with Rockford. I think that they are just going to come in here with a little bit of edge of playing a revenge game rather than trying to beat that same team again. And I think that they're just going to do everything they can, leave it all on the field against Hudsonville. And on the other side, I've got East Kentwood and Howell as well. And I think that this is going to be where we really see Cade Kaufman start to take off. He's having a really good season, and
Yes.
I am expecting that to continue as we get through these playoffs. And Howell, not a team that you want to face when you've got that high flying offense because they are going to dominate the time of possession against you. But doesn't always lead to points. I think that Howell is going to have a hard time stopping East Kentwood through the air, and fully expect East Kentwood and Rockford to meet up in that next round.
I like it. I like you're going opposite of me on that one. Next one up, we've got Detroit Catholic Central and Brighton, and then Clarkson versus Grand Blanc. This whole region is a nightmare.
Yeah.
Obviously, even if Brighton gets by West Bloomfield, or if West Bloomfield gets by Brighton, to be rewarded with a game against DCC is tough. I love everything that I just saw from DCC, so I think they are gonna kind of blast by Brighton, and then we've got Clarkson and Grand Blanc, two offenses that are capable of putting up points, but I think the top end talent gets them, and I think Grand Blanc is gonna get by them.
All right. Looking at that, I've also got DCC Brighton. Uh, this is one where I'm not sure that there's a lot of teams that can put a stop to DCC, and unfortunately, I don't think Brighton is one of them. I'm going to take DCC there, and on the other end, we disagree. I am taking Clarkston here. Clarkston, one of my favorites throughout the season. Been watching them closely since they dropped that one to Harper Woods, and I mean, if you look, they have not been in a close game since, and they have played some solid squads in Oxford, Adams, West Bloomfield, and Ike, and they're tearing through these teams without issue. Other hand, Grand Blanc, really like them. Loved what I saw against Davison. They're clearly tested against some solid teams, but I don't think they've come up against anything quite like what Clarkston is putting out there.
I don't disagree with that, and I definitely think there's a path to. I think this is one of the closest games that week. I think that should be a really fun one.
Yep. But Clarkston's going to win. So you
Fair
should
enough.
probably change that. Next, we've got uh, I have Celine taking on Brownstown Woodhaven, and this one is where I think Brownstown's luck runs out, and Celine does what they do and steamrolls them. They're just a really good team. They're going to be coming in looking to make a much bigger splash than they did last season, and I just don't think that this Brownstown Woodhaven team is going to be able to do enough to dash their hopes.
Yeah, that one's gonna be tough. For me, I've got Celine and Belleville. And like I said earlier, I think Celine has the slight edge here. I really love what they're doing offensively. And I just am not sure that Belleville's going to be able to keep up with them on that. And then I've got Cass Tech Fordson, and again, I think this team is as talented as any, and I do not see a way that Fordson's going to be able to slow down Cass Tech.
Yeah, on the other end, I also have Castech Fordson, and Fordson, for as good as they would be feeling coming off of that Farmington win, I just I don't think they have the horses to run with Castech. They're another
Not
one of
many
those
people do.
squads that they're just too talented. So I'm
Yeah,
taking Castech there as well.
agreed.
Next, I have Adams taking on Stony Creek, and this one, pretty interesting one. Adams winning it 26-20 in their earlier matchup, and boy, this one I'm a little bit torn on, but I think I'm gonna have to go Adams here. Just I'm not sure if we're gonna get that same consistency from Stony Creek that we're getting from them.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have Adams and Stony Creek, and I've got Adams moving on as well. I think that team is really good. Stony Creek's going to give them a challenge, but I think they're just going to be beat out on the top end talent. And then the other matchup I have there is Romeo and Utica, and I've got Romeo in that one again. Just Romeo's been so consistent, really, really good. Played against some really, really good teams, and obviously almost beat Grand Blanc. Have a couple other like marquee wins. So I think this team's tested, and I think this is kind of where Utica's inexperience in the postseason kind of gets them.
Yeah, we agree. I'm taking Romeo there as well. Moving on to our semifinals, I have Rockford taking on East Kentwood in what is a rematch from earlier this season. And in that one, we saw East Kentwood getting the loss 21-14. I think that they get their revenge here. I'm taking East Kentwood to win this and make it to that semifinal round.
I like it. This one I've got Hudsonville versus Howell, and man, on paper this is another huge clash of styles. Um, Howell gonna be a tough matchup on the ground. Um, but I think that Hudsonville is just going to be able to air it out a little bit. Um, I think one team is going to have the ability to be dynamic. Howell might struggle with that a little bit. So I am going to take Hudsonville in this one.
All right. Next region, I've got DCC taking on Clarkston, and I think Clarkston's going to shock the world here, take down Detroit Catholic Central. Clarkston is actually, per my metrics, the number one team in Division One, and they actually have a pretty sizable lead on Detroit Catholic Central, who's in there at number two.
Wow. That is pretty surprising, actually. For me, I've got Detroit Catholic Central and Grand Blanc. Um, I think this one could be really fun offensively, but I just think DCC has the advantage defensively. I think that front seven is as good as anybody in the state, and I think they'll be able to score. They're one of the very few teams that I'm confident can score with Grand Blanc. So I am
Mhm.
going to take Catholic Central into the playoffs and into the semifinals.
All right. I mean, one of us has to be wrong, so it may as well be you.
I appreciate that.
Up next, I have Castech taking on Celine. And this is another one where I've got Celine in one spot ahead of Castech on my metrics. And, my metrics aren't perfect, but they're close enough. I'm going to take Celine here.
I like that. Yeah, I've got Celine and Cast Tech as well. Um, Man, this is kind of a heavyweight battle. We've seen Celine week one; they had a really good showing. Um, Obviously, kind of tripped up with that Harper Woods game, but other than that, have been really, really good. But I just think Cass Tech is on a mission right now. I think their quarterback has another year of experience in the playoffs. He's still really young, and I don't think Sadler's going to want to go without hoisting another trophy. So I think he keeps it rolling against Saline.
Yeah, hard to pick against Castech, but I'm going to do it because I want my bracket to be right.
That's fair.
Up next, I have Adams taking on Romeo. And Romeo, a team that after they started out 0-2, I had kind of written off. And the way that they played out the rest of their season, I'm about as high as you can get on them. And I'm going to ride that Romeo team on into these semifinals.
Yeah, I'm going to echo everything you just said. I think this team's playing confident. I think by this point, they've got a couple nice wins in the playoffs, probably a couple comfortable ones, if I had to guess. So they should be about as fresh as you can be for playing in, you know, the semifinals. So yeah, I like Romeo in this one and to get to the semifinals.
All right. My semifinal clash is going to be East Kentwood versus Clarkston. And in this one, I'm struggling a little bit because I feel like any team that's in these semifinals is going to be coming in hot. Uh, you're going to be coming in at the top of
Yeah.
your game, and looking at these two squads, East Kentwood I think has a higher ceiling in the passing game, but Clarkston has a solid passing game and the dominant run game with the Bowman brothers. And I think that ground game is going to be too much for East Kentwood to handle. I'm going to take Clarkston to make the finals.
Nice. I've got Hudsonville and Detroit Catholic Central in this one. Um, Hudsey by this time is going to be very battle tested against some really, really good teams. And if they can get by Howell, they're going to be beat up after that one. And they're going to be beat up coming into a game against Detroit Catholic Central, who is as physical of a team as we've seen so far this year. So I like the Shamrocks to get to Ford Field, and I like them. They're 9-0 for the first time back to back since 98-99. I think this is kind of a team of destiny. There's no way they're not playing on Thanksgiving weekend, it feels like.
All right. Moving on to the other semifinal round, I have Celine taking on Romeo. And for as much as I like this Romeo team, I think Celine just has it on both sides of the ball and really just top to bottom, really good roster, coaching staff that is coming in. As I mentioned before, they had just a very disappointing out in their last attempt in the playoffs. I think that they just come in here riding hot at this point. They have nothing but that trophy at the end of Thanksgiving weekend in their eyes, taking Celine.
Nice. I like that one. I've got Cast Tech Romeo, and I'm going to take Cast Tech for kind of those same reasons. I think everything that you said about Celine can be true for Cast Tech. I
Mm-hmm.
think they're about as talented as they get, and that would set up one of the most absurd D1 matchups in the state finals in quite some time with Detroit Catholic Central and Cass Tech. And this, for me, you can almost flip a coin. Um, Man, it's hard to pick. I think I had it just chalked up in my mind, but man, now that you stare at the matchup, it's hard. I think I'm going to take Cass Tech to go back to back.
Gotta say, your bracket is looking awfully chalky over there. don't love it.
I didn't want it to be.
I,
I
I
know.
think
As I
that
went
I,
through it, I did not like it at all.
scared money don't make money. Looking at this
Yeah.
one, Clarkston, Celine, kind of having the same issue as you. This is a coin flip game. Quarterback, I like Washenko, but I think Carr is just kind of at that next level. But once again, I come back to those Bowman brothers on the ground. If you can control the ground game, control the clock, give your defense time to prep and rest, you're going to be a tough squad to beat for anybody. I'm going to take Clarkston to hoist the trophy.
I like it. It's not a bad pick. That's a team that could get hot at the right time, and they play a style of football that's really, really hard to stop when it gets hot. So I don't mind that pick at all.
All right, that's doing it for D1. Let's go ahead and jump into Division 2. I'm going to kick this one off with game we mentioned earlier, uh, in an earlier recording, and that's going to be Muskegon taking on Muskegon Mona Shores. Then on the other side, we have a rematch from uh, this past weekend. How about that? Traverse City Central taking on Traverse City West. This one going to be a fun matchup here. It was a one-score game. Technically, Traverse City West the host, but both teams play home at Thurlby Field, so got to be a great crowd for that one. Looking at this, they're both just such good teams. Have a hard time taking either of them out, but I'm just going to let my bias work here, and I'm going to take Traverse City Central.
Yeah, yeah, that's tough. Um,
And
yeah, Muskegon Mona Shores is a really tough one. But I think Muskegon kind of handled them the first time. I think they are gonna be able to kind of do their thing here, kind of get back right after the big loss down there to Moeller. And then TCC and TC West, that's tough. I am also going to take TCC. Um, Hard to beat a team twice, especially, a game like this where it's 21-20. I think that's going to be really difficult for them.
yeah, I'm going to agree with you here. Muskegon, if they were playing just about anybody else coming off of a complete beatdown like this, I'd imagine they'd have a hard time getting up and motivated. They're going up against their crosstown rivals who they already beat once this season. Uh, their rivals also coming in off of that loss to TCC. I think that Muskegon is going to look to make a statement in this game. Would not be surprised to see this one get a little bit ugly as they try to hype themselves up a little bit throughout the game.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. But yeah, I like Muskegon in that spot. Um, Mona Shores obviously has dealt with injuries right from the get go, so it's hard to, fault them for anything this year. They were pretty much without, key contributors, so really tough in that one. Next district, we've got Portage Central and Lansing Everett, and then Byron Center and Portage Northern. Um, this one's an interesting one. I think Portage Central, obviously, we've talked about them a lot. Um, they have kind of just sleptwalked through their schedule, dominated everybody. So I think they kind of just move on with ease. But Byron Center and Portage Northern are tough ones to figure out. I think both teams are good, but I think week to week, it's tough to figure out exactly what you're going to get from them. I'm going to take Byron Center in this one just because they've got a little bit more of the experience with their run last year.
All right. Uh, Portage Central team, like you said, we've talked about a lot. Not a whole lot more to say on them besides their defense is damn good.
Yeah.
Their offense is nothing to be laughed at either. On the other side, Byron Center, Portage Northern, a bit of a closer game, but I'm going to lean Byron Center here. They're playing really well off after starting out 1-3. Uh, they have just kind of pulled themselves back together, and Portage Northern, solid squad, but there's just looking back at their schedule, nothing that blows me away as far as a marquee opponent. I'm not sure that they've been tested by a team like Byron Center outside of when they played PC. So I'm taking Byron Center and Portage Central.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with those. Next on, we've got Midland Dow and Waterford Mott, and then Lakeland versus East Lansing. Um, I love Dow right now. I think they have a really dynamic offense. I think Deagle, their quarterback, is really good. Um, Absolutely can sling it. The other one, Lakeland and East Lansing, it's tough. I don't think either one has super impressed me yet. I think East Lansing, and I think they get it done just based on the experience last year, but I would not be stunned if Lakeland gets that one done.
I am going to agree with you on Dow. Uh, they're playing as well as anybody. They've got that one loss to Mount Pleasant, which, looking back on it, honestly, just makes Mount Pleasant look good more than it does make Dow look bad. Um, just the way that they've dominated solid competition ever since then. I mean, their closest game since then was 31-13. That's a
Yeah,
dominant team. That's a confident team.
fair.
Dow is going to be one of those teams that's hard to stop. On the other side, East Lansing, they they just don't do it for me. I'm not sure how I can describe it other than vibes. Vibes are off. I'm not feeling it. I'm taking Lakeland.
Yeah, I went back and forth on that one. That one's really tough.
All right, moving on to District 2. And I'm going to be frank here. I am picking this one purely on what I want to see. And what I want to see is a rematch between Brother Rice and Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Walled Lake Western, definitely a really good team there. Brother Rice is coming in pretty confident. Orchard Lake St. Mary's is coming in angry. North Farmington, another really good team that, feels a little unfair, but like I said, I'm taking a biased pick here, purely taking it based on who I want to see, and what I want to see is that rematch.
Yeah, I'm going the same way. Um, I think this Brother Rice, the really young core that we've kind of talked about all season long, I think they've started to finally turn the corner, and I think that Orchard Lake St. Mary's win was kind of that statement that they're here. And yeah, I pray for North Farmington. I think Orchard Lake St. Mary's is going to be. Uh, I think they're going to be focused, and they're obviously incredibly talented. And I think, yeah, we get a Catholic League matchup in the second round between Rice and Orchard Lake St. Mary's.
Yeah, definitely think that both squads are good enough to make it there. And like I said, just purely picking with my heart there. I think a rematch would be a lot of fun for both of these teams. Um, Love to see Brother Rice try to prove that they can do it again. Orchard Lake St. Mary's, one of the most talented teams in the state, regardless of division. They
Yeah.
want to make a run. They're one of those teams that's coming in every season, championship or bust. Coming in at a 3 seed is surprising. Uh, think that they might be playing with a little bit of chip on their shoulder too.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was thinking. I think that they are going to, I think there's a chance they curb stomp North Farmington just purely out of commitment and anger and wanting to get to that second round and having a shot at either a really good Walled Lake Western team or a Brother Rice team that kind of already nipped them.
Yep. Moving on to the next region, we have South Lyon taking on South Lyon East in District 1, and then Dexter taking on Livonia Franklin. I'm going to make this one quick with South Lyon. They beat South Lyon East 28-6, and I don't see any reason that they're not going to do it again. This South Lyon squad, undefeated, and for the most part, just steamrolling their competition. The only teams that they weren't beating by double digits were Walled Lake Western and Waterford Mott, which are two very good teams. I don't see how South Lyon East can rebound from that loss in really just 3 straight losses.
Yeah.
Not really what you want to see. A good squad, but not the type of team that I expect to be able to rebound and take down that South Lyon team.
Yeah, no, it's going to be tough scene to lose to your rival like that, twice in a row. So, uh, unfortunate kind of pairing there, but exactly what you're going to get when you are making the playoffs and playing against a team that, crosstown rival like that. So, um, yeah, I agree on South Lyon. On the other side, Dexter, Livonia, Franklin. I just don't think Franklin has the firepower. I think Dexter is going to roll in that one.
Yeah, Dexter, my top rated offense. Um, they have the one loss to Celine, who I had making the championship game, finishing as the runner up in my Division One. I think that this Dexter team is going to be uh, continuing where they were this season, and that is putting up crazy amounts of points. Their defense, also very good. They had one game where they let it get away from them, and again, that was against Celine. Besides that, I mean, they're holding a team like Brayden to 27. They're holding, uh, you know, these other squads that maybe a bit less prestigious, but they're coming in and just not letting them have any breathing room. I think this Dexter squad rolls.
I agree. Next up in District 2 in that region, we've got Gibraltar Carlson and Lincoln Park, and Allen Park and Temperance Bedford. Kind of the downriver district in this one. Um, I think Carlson just too good on the ground. They have just been full blown dominant. Obviously, you got a D1 guy there. This game was 59-36 just a couple weeks ago. I think we are going to be in a similar position this week.
I am with you there. Don't see any reason why these guys can't come in and just repeat what they did in week 8.
Yeah. And then for Allen Park, Bedford, I think Allen Park has done just enough to impress me a little bit more than Bedford has. Um, Obviously 5-4 versus 4-5. So, I mean, flip a coin. I don't think either of these teams really have much of a chance in round two, but I am going to reluctantly take Allen Park into the second round.
I'm going to agree with you there. Don't necessarily love either of these teams. Even looking at Allen Park, their final week of the regular season, losing to Gibraltar Carlson, who we'd have them matching up against. Um, Difference here for me is you lose 2 straight games and your total is 112 to nothing. It's going to be hard to get up, especially against a team that on paper just looks like they're probably as competitive as most of the teams you've seen this season. I'm not sure that Temperance Bedford is going to be able to motivate themselves after just a couple of ugly losses, even if it is, the postseason play, win or go home. I'm not sure they can do it.
Agreed. Region 4, we got the District 1 of Groves and Warren Mott, and then Warren Cousino and Seaholm. And I think we're going to get a kind of rematch of a rivalry. I think we're going to get Groves and Seaholm.
Bruce and see home. Okay. Well, I really hate to say it, but we agree.
Nice.
I'm
Look too.
I'm with you there. Doesn't give me a good feeling, seeing as you don't know ball, but I guess even a blind squirrel is right twice a day. I think we're going to see Groves taking on Seaholm once more in the next round.
Yeah, and it seems to happen almost every year at this point. So why not keep the tradition alive?
Yep. Uh, Next district we have here in Region 4 is going to be Grosse Pointe South taking on Roseville, and Port Huron Northern taking on St. Clair Shores Lakeview.
Yeah, for me, Grosse Pointe South Roseville. Obviously, that was a really good game, especially in the first half earlier in the season until GPS kind of pulled away. Um, I think this game kind of follows that same trajectory. I think it's pretty close in the first half. The Grosse Pointe South now has just proven week in and week out that this team just finds ways to win, finds ways to win in pretty impressive fashion. So I would not be shocked if they do the same thing. Port Huron Northern and Lakeview, that one was a little more difficult for me. And kind of the deciding factor, I think, is just the fact that like they were able to obviously they defeated Grosse Pointe South earlier in the year, which was a monumental upset. And then they followed it up with a win over Ike. I think that's pretty impressive. So I am going to go Lakeview on this one.
Okay. This one, I'm going to take Grosse Pointe South as well. Lakeview, like you said, they're coming in here pretty darn hot.
Yeah.
Wins over Grosse Pointe South and Ike. On the other side, Port Huron Northern, uh, not necessarily trending one way or the other. They had that loss to Warren Fitzgerald, which isn't great, but looking at the rest of their schedule, they've been pretty solid. But I gotta say, this team right here, just looking as hot as they come as far
Yeah.
as confidence and as far as momentum goes. I agree that Lakeview squad's going to be tough to stop, and I'm not sure that Port Huron has the dogs to do it. Other side, I think Grosse Pointe South rolls. That's a good team, and that's really all there is to it.
I 100% agree. Moving on into the district finals, up top we've got Muskegon and Traverse City Central in that one. Um, this for me comes down to I just think Muskegon has that experience in the playoffs, and I think that it's going to be tough to stop that offense when the weather gets crappy. So I am going to take the Big Reds into the next round.
I'm with you completely. TCC, I watched them in their matchup against Mount Pleasant, and while I like them, they did not have the size in the trenches necessary to keep up with that Mount Pleasant squad. And Muskegon is going to be just as big, if not bigger. And they're also going to have the skill talent to match. And as you said, the style of offense that they play is not going to be fun to match up against in round two. I'm with you taking Big Red.
All right. Next one, in the second district there, we've got Portage Central and Byron Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of called it a few weeks ago. I kind of said it out loud, but had been thinking it for a couple weeks. Portage Central feels like last year's Byron Center. Like this feels like the
Mm-hmm.
team in D2 that just kind of feels like the team of destiny. So good on both sides of the ball, just like Byron Center was a year ago. So I am going to have the torch be passed from Byron Center to Portage Central this week.
You took the words right out of my mouth there. Portage Central, as you said, team of destiny. They're my metrics favorite team in Division Two, and they're actually the second overall team based on just pure overall ratings. They're they're so good on defense, and if you uh, again going back through their games, that's just a lot of zeros.
Yeah.
And you look on the other side and it's 40s, 50s, 40s. They have one game this season where they scored under 30 points. And it's against Portage Northern, who is a very good team. Like,
Yeah.
this is uh, as dominant of a showing as we've seen, as you said, since Byron Center of last year. I'm with you completely, taking Portage Central in this one.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to slow that team down. In the next one, I have Dow versus East Lansing. Um, and again, everything that I said about Dow earlier, I just think they're so talented. East Lansing is down, no way around it. So I think they will roll in that one. And then you've got the kind of rematch of the century. And I think that Brother Rice is just 1 year away. I like Orchard Lake St. Mary's to kind of get their revenge in that one.
All right. I am looking at Dow versus Lakeland in that first matchup, and um, I I like this Dow team. They're a lot of fun, And this, this Lakeland team, for as solid as they are, just not going to be able to match up with them. I'm taking Dow, and really, whether it is Lakeland or East Lansing, I fear for them because I don't think either one of them is going to fare well against this Dow team. Other
Agreed.
side, with you completely. Orchard Lake St. Mary, too talented to lose to this team twice. Brother Rice feels like they're right on the cusp, but just another year away. I'm going to give Orchard Lake St. Mary the edge here, even though they did lose the matchup just a couple weeks back. Brother Rice probably not loving that, but uh, really, really hard to beat a team twice, and even more so when it's a team like Orchard Lake St. Mary's.
Yeah, no, I'm in a full agreement there, but I will tell you right now to be forewarned for next year. I think this Brother Rice team, they're going to get a couple more, extra practices this year as a unit. And I think over the summer they're going to work hard. And I presume that this will be a really, really tough out again next year.
Yeah. All right, moving on. I have South Lyon taking on Dexter. And, defense wins championships, but when you have an offense like Dexter's, I'm not sure it matters. I'm taking them here. This South Lyon team, very, very good. 9-0 and been just rock solid all season. But this Dexter team, I don't know how you stop them from scoring. They might be able to score right along with them, but I'm not sure this Dexter team is going to punt once in the first 2 or 3 rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I have the same thing. I've got South Line versus Dexter. And yeah, I just everything you said about their offense, absolutely. I think they will track meet just about anybody, and I think that they will show it in this one.
All right. Next, I've got Gibraltar Carlson taking on Allen Park. And as we touched on before, Gibraltar Carlson is probably going to roll in this game. I just don't think any of the 3 teams in their particular district are good matchups for them. We've already seen it with 2 of them. And Allen Park suffered the worst loss of the 2 to Gibraltar Carlson, taking them to roll here, and I'm not sure it's close.
Yeah, no, not much to add there. This game was 44-7 just this past week, and I would give them the nod in this one.
All right. Next, we have Region 4 District 1 championships. I've got Groves taking on Seaholm, same as you. And when we saw these guys match up in that last week of the regular season, Birmingham Groves managed to snag the win 21-14 while on the road. This one, they would be hosting. And I'm going to be honest, for all that we say with hard to beat the same team twice, I think that having the home field advantage and having the do or die attitude that comes with the playoffs means that Groves is going to come in here wanting to make more of a statement than a 7-point win.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Groves, we've kind of given them some crap this year because they've been very up and down. But no, I think this is still the better team. Uh, Getting a playoff game at home against your rival, not much more you could ask for there. I think they're gonna come in focused and be just fine there. And then the next matchup, I've got Grosse Pointe South versus St. Clair Shores Lakeview. Um, Lakeview, we talked about it. They're coming in really hot, but I just don't think it's going to matter. I think Grosse Pointe South is going to roll this one pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Grosse Pointe South, they're just too solid of a team for, regardless of who wins, whether it's Port Huron Northern or Lakeview. Uh, I'm just not sure that, similar to the teams with Gibraltar Carlson, I'm not sure there's anyone in this district that can really hang with them. I'm going to give them a nice and smooth trip into the regional final.
Absolutely. Moving on to who's going to end up in the semifinals. I've got Muskegon versus Portage Central. Um, and again, it just feels like Portage Central just isn't going to lose a game like this. I think Muskegon's going to give them a fight. Probably one of their, biggest scares all season, to be honest. Maybe the first time that they, give up multiple scores. But I still like Porter Central in this one. I think their offense is really good. I think that their defense is going to be able to, kind of contain them a little bit. So give me PC, not by a lot, but I think that they will still get by in this one.
We do not agree here.
I was a little worried
PC
about
is
that.
going to. What's that?
I said I was a little worried about that.
Yeah, we do not agree. PC is going to win this one by probably 20 to 30 points. Um, I think Muskegon might score twice on them, and I think that PC is still going to be able to hang 40 to 50 on them. And I'm just not sure that Muskegon, for as good as they are, is quite rebounded from last year's, pretty difficult season where they missed the playoffs. At least not quite enough to be able to hang with a team of destiny like this. I'm going to take PC here, and uh, I'm going to say that they do allow 2 scores, but they're not giving up more than 10 points in this game.
Yeah, if it's going to be a blowout, it's definitely going to be on the PC side. Um, but I just think Muskegon might be talented enough, just pure talent wise, to cause some issues. But still, I think Porter Central's just way too consistent, way too well rounded. Um, Not going to get too high, not going to get too low. I think that they're just going to be able to get by in this one.
Yeah, that's fine. It's a free country. You can be wrong.
I appreciate it.
Moving on, I believe you and I both have Dow taking on Orchard Lake St. Mary here. And,
Yep.
for all the talent that Orchard Lake St. Mary has, I think I'm going to give the edge to Dow in this one. Their losses coming in to DCC, I mean, that's as respectable of a loss as you're going to find. But that Brother Hills Rice loss still isn't quite sitting right with me. Just shows that this team has some vulnerabilities. And I think that a squad the caliber of Midland Dow is going to be able to take advantage of that. And they may end up having to force a shootout. But if that's the case, I'm going to trust the Midland Dow offense, despite, the probably pretty substantial talent differential in just the uh, pure athletes that Orchard Lake St. Mary is going to have. I'm taking this Dow team, and whatever they've got going on there is working.
Yeah, I mean it's probably closer than people think. Um, I am gonna go Orchard Lake St. Mary's. I think they can go toe to toe, like quarterback wise. I think both defenses are pretty talented, but I just think that top end talent. Um, I just don't know who's gonna be able to guard how many weapons Orchard Lake St. Mary's has. Like Willis and Adams, like all those guys. I just I don't know how Dow matches up. Like I don't know that they have a you know linebacker that can cover Brayden Adams Jr. Um, I think that's going to be really tough. So I am going to give it to Orchard Lake St. Mary's, but I think it's a little closer than maybe people think.
Yeah, I will say Division Two. Just looking at my metrics, we've got Portage Central way at the top, but South Lyon, Orchard Lake St. Mary, Gibraltar Carlson, Midland Dow, and Port Huron Northern and Dexter are all bunched up together. Really kind of a pick 'em if you have any of those teams matching up against each other. Muskegon not too far behind, along with Byron Center, but uh, I I think that this game is more of a pick 'em than most people might expect.
I
I'm
agree.
just going to lean towards Dow.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Um, Next one we've got is Dexter versus Carlson. This is another one that could get out of hand with points. I think both of these teams are pretty talented, especially offensively. Um, but we've seen it from Dexter more consistently and against some really tough competition. So I am going to go with the Dreadnoughts.
I'm in complete agreement. This Carlson team Pretty similar to Dexter, just points machine outside of that game against Trenton, just hanging up points on everybody. Had a couple of closer games, that Trenton game and that game against Brownstown Woodhaven, but 9-0 is 9-0. I'm just not sure it matters against the juggernaut of a offense that we're seeing here with Dexter.
Agreed. Next one we've
And,
got is well, at least for me, I've got Groves and Grosse Pointe South. Um,
yep.
this one for me is kind of just comes down to Grosse Pointe South has proved it a little more to me that they can get it done in these big games, beating down teams like Roseville. So I am gonna go Grosse Pointe South, but I wouldn't be shocked if Groves hangs around a little bit.
I am going to take Grosse Pointe South here as well. One thing of note, my numbers do not like this Groves team. I'm not sure what it is that they're seeing exactly. It might be that loss to West Bloomfield, or maybe just giving up a decent amount of points to Oxford as well as Harper Woods. But for one reason or another, my metrics are not loving them. And I'm going to trust the numbers here and go with this Grosse Pointe South squad.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't know how you beat a team like Grosse Pointe South right now, the way that they've been playing, and I certainly don't think Groves is quite there to put it on them yet.
Agreed. All right, so looking at our semifinals, I've got Portage Central taking on Midland Dow. And this is another one where, for as much as I like Dow, really good squad here, I'm just not sure it matters. This Portage Central team is too good. And I'm not sure that they can steamroll them like I would expect uh, them to do with Lansing Everett and either Byron Center and Portage Northern. But I do think that similar to Muskegon, I might fluff it up a little there, but I do think Muskegon's a good squad. They're going to give them probably their best game of the season. And I think Midland Dow's going to do the same. I'm just not sure it's going to be enough. And I'm going to take Portage Central here with confidence.
Yeah, I've got. I'm a little less confident because I've got them matched up with Orchard Lake St. Mary's. Um, Again, I think this one is a battle. Um, really close. I'm gonna take Portage Central because it feels different there, and I think they're just super well rounded. And I think they're kind of similar. I think they may be a more polished version of what Brother Rice is right now, and I think that just bodes well for them. You're gonna have them on a neutral site. If you're gonna get Orchard Lake St. Mary's, this is how you want to do it. And I think Portage Central is able to maybe squeak by. I think this one's really, really close, but I think they're just so well rounded. I think they're able to get there, and they will go to Ford Field.
All right. And then moving on to the next semifinal game, I believe you and I both have Dexter taking on Grosse Pointe South. And I'm going to be honest here. My numbers don't especially love either of these teams. They're both top 20 teams in Division Two by my metrics, but neither one of them quite near the top. Dexter is grouped in with that kind of second tier of D2, with first tier being Portage Central alone. Um, I am going to take Dexter here, and if nothing else, I want to see the top rated offense in the state taking on the top rated defense in the state. I was, looking at this matchup in D2 as a potential in either the districts or maybe even the regionals. Would love to see it in Ford Field more than anything.
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna go the same way. I'm gonna go Dexter. I think they're gonna be able to score at will almost throughout these playoffs, and I think that yeah, we're gonna get an absolutely insane game with Portage Central and Dexter. It might be the game of the weekend at Ford Field if this one actually comes to fruition.
I agree with you there. So, looking at our MHSAA Final Four D2. You and I both have Portage Central taking on Dexter. Who do you got?
I'm gonna go Portage Central, man. I just think they're as well-rounded of a team as there is, and I mean, I think that Dexter can score, but if anyone is going to at least kind of put a lid on this offense, it has to be Portage Central. They're the only ones that I think are well equipped defensively to maybe not stop them, but at least slow them down. And they're talented enough; they might be able to match them, dollar for 4 quarters better than anyone. So this game could be super low scoring, could be super high scoring. And I think either one, I think Portage Central will be the favorite.
Yeah, I think that this one's going to see. I frankly would expect something kind of similar to what we saw in the Dexter Celine matchup. Of both teams are going to put up points, and it might look okay, but when you actually look at the score breakdown, wouldn't be surprised to see Porter Central win by 20 points. Just both teams putting up crazy numbers while they do it. When it comes down to it, I think PC can get a few more stops than Dexter, and I think that's where it's going to make the difference. Might only be 1 or 2 possessions, but with offenses as good as these two and defense as good as Portage Central has, it's going to be the difference maker.
I 100% agree, and I will be praying that that one happens because I think that one could be the game of the weekend at Ford Field if that actually happens.
All right, well, that is going to do it for our Division 1 and Division 2 picks, and we are going to end this one here and pick up with Division 3 and Division 4 in the next episode.